I'm really happy to be here along with you. And I'm going to speak about ALM. ALM means Application Lifecycle Management. ALM, if you type ALM on Wikipedia, you will see the definition. So it's all the different tools that are dealing with the management of any kind of software for the development and the change process. And, well, I do consider that we are living a very, very important moment for the IBMI platform. Why? It's because now the platform itself is a very modern one. So what else need to be done to have it's simply to have modern application running on it. And I can tell you that I'm traveling all around the world, and I see some companies that are aware that you can develop very modern application within that platform. So just a little bit about our company for those of you that never heard about us in Poland. So we are a global player in the ALM industry. We will focus on the PowerI platform, and with a particular focus on the enterprise modernization side of things. So it's all the tools that are participating in the modernization of existing applications. Our core business is in the software configuration management as well as the release management side of things. And let's not forget the test automation that we will describe a little bit later. The products were originally developed in 1988 at the European Space Agency. And at that time, it was a purely AS400 change management. And we have spread from time to time the technology in different other related areas. So now we are somewhat old, as you can see, 22 years. And we are spread in 35 different countries with 40 hours, 7 days a week tech support. And the main point is the fact that, and that's the reason why I'm here today, is that we are a rational technology partners. What that means? Means that part of our technology can be acquired through the Passport Advantage. It's distributed by the Rational brand. And I will explain you just after. You can see here our tool set. It's 11 different modules that can be assembled one to each other in the form of packs. So we are selling packs, which is an assembly of different modules. And you can see that Rational and their core product of Rational is Rational Team Concert, is right in the middle of our offer. And that's the reason, in fact, we have been able to partner with Rational in the fact that Rational has a logic of being a standard worldwide, which is definitely the case in the software configuration management area. And this is for each and every platform. And we complete RTC with what is related to the specific needs of the IBMI customers. So just a quick overview of there. We have tools for managing the relationship with end users through the customer ticketing tool. We have a tool here that is used up front with any usage that is providing different sorts of potential anomalies, because as we are dealing with companies that have 20 or 30 years of development, there is a lot of obsolete components, so it may be time to remove all the obsolete components. And then, as soon as you have made the cleanup on your application, you're going to get Arcade open repository, which is quite clean, and that contains all the different referencements of each and every component of your information system, as well as what we call the dependencies. And we are using those dependencies to provide typically the application analysis area. Application analysis is quite important because as soon as you start to make a change, then you know exactly which component will be impacted, and you are able to estimate the workload, the related workload. So that's important for making the changes, but for also estimating the changes. And we provide in that area different additional tools, but I will explain you that later. We have a transformer that is really related to every tools we provide in the transformation of existing applications. And this is where, in fact, there is a new tool called Transformer RPG, for which you will have a flyer outside, and is specifically designed for converting RPG into the free form. So here in the middle, it's all about the management of the versioning at the development level. So the purpose is that simple. It's simply to manage multiple projects at the same time. You may have an ongoing flow of corrective maintenance to conduct, while at the same time you are conducting a larger project. Can be business project, but it can be also modernization project. So that's why it's very important to have this kind of organization in place, just in order to absorb the related workload in a really secured manner. So you can see RTC is there and Skipper is there. So Skipper is the source code management specifically designed for the iSpace. So it means that your sources are stored in your IBM I, while in RTC, in fact, it's a separate server, and you may store each and every sources within the same single source repository. So it's up to you to decide either organization you want to put in place, knowing that both of them are part of the rational portfolio. These tools are integrated with case tools. I don't know if in the audience there are some case tool users, just like Lanza or Sinon. You need to know that we have this compatibility at the 4GL level. And both of them share the same development environment, of course, which is RDI. Then we provide also all the build capabilities for both Rational and Skipper. And it's all about having 100% automation of the compilation phase. So it means that you don't have to do anything there. All the logistic of the components are managed by the tool himself. Then you can see here we have a foot in the test automation through two different tools. One is Verifier, which is a regression testing tool, and Extract, which allows you to extract data from your production database and inject those data into a target test database. And let's finish with the Deliver side of things, which consists in automating the deployment of your components into different servers. And you can see on top of it, again, we are getting back to RTC because it's RTC that is providing to that combined offer all the stuff relating to the project management, the support to agile methodology, and the workflow capabilities. So let's get back to the enterprise modernization. It's first of all a management issue because of what? Because of the fact that you have to manage now the diversity. The diversity can be in form of nationality. You may have people coming from different countries working in the same on the same application. Age, that's the big deal. Every IBM customers are challenging now. The population is getting older and older, so it may be time now to think about the next generation. Who's going to maintain your existing application? It's the young people. You don't believe me? Yes, you have to believe me because we have now, and that's why I consider we are living a very important moment, is the fact that everything is in place to be able to attract young developers. At least you need some little rules to follow, so that's why it's a management issue. Using a modern development environment and converting your RPG, if you are running your RPG applications, into its latest free form. And let's not forget the technical background, because most of the time, in fact, people are having both RPG COBOL on one side, but also a good bunch of additional, what we call new technology, but it's not that much new now. But there is This is to say that for those different reasons, there is natural wall that can be built from time to time, and this is not profitable for the company. You need to be aware about that. It's very important to manage the diversity. Manage the diversity means having people talking the one to each other. That's the key factor of success. So if you look at that diagram, you can see here, this is the old application architecture, and it's all about moving to this new one. Isn't that great? So first of all, let's talk about the database. We used to have physical file and a logical file. Now it's outdated. You have to move to a full relational database. Why? Because you get more performance. I guess you've heard the message of Tim Rowe on that topic. But it's not the only reason. The reason is that it's the SQL engine that is in charge of keeping the integrity of your data. In that model, you can write a program and can put some character fields in the numerical fields. Nothing will block you in there. In that model, of course, you can't do that anymore. So it means that moving to a full relational database is very important also to keep the integrity of your data. And another key argument is related to what I said previously, is that it's all about having young developers coming to your organization. So of course, the young developers know only one language to access the data. It's SQL. So you have to adopt SQL as a unique standard to get access to your database. So how can you move from here to there? In fact, we have a tool that allows you to make that migration. So we check the data integrity, then we move from DDS to DDL, and you can even go further because you may have some very short names on only six digits, and you can have more explicit names, and the system will go into your programs in order to make the related adaptations. So first step, moving to a full relational database. Second step, moving to more modular architecture. It's all about here adopting the ILE environment. Of course, if you have programs that have 20,000 lines of code, it's difficult to maintain. And a lot of people are aware about making any change there because they are afraid of breaking anything. And it's way much more easy to maintain little piece of code, of course. So it's only the ILE architecture that allows you to move in that direction. Of course, we don't have any tool yet to make an automatic transformation of a big program with 20,000 lines into a set of procedures. But maybe next year we will have some things to propose in that area. In the meantime, you may have Observer that allows you to detect the different business rules, which is already a good stuff. And finally, the user interface. Now there are multiple ways to access an IBM I application. Can be, of course, 50-50, but also a graphical user interface, mobile devices, web services. So by the fact that you have to access your application and your data through different interfaces, then you have to move in that direction. That's the key element. So it's just a matter of following the path, because of course, if you are down of the mountain, you see the top, you say, "Wow, it's a big amount of work, and I won't be able to move in that direction because it may be too costly, too risky, and to what?" These are the two main reasons. But it's just a matter of following the path. So first of all, what you can do, and that will not be costly, is to change your methodologies. One of them is why not adopting the agile methodology. Are you aware about this methodology? Yeah, it's quite efficient. We have implemented in our own organization since mid of last year, and it's very, very efficient in the way of that. It's really adapted to how the business is evolving now, first of all. one of the very first principles of the agile methodology, the fact that your specification may move from time to time. Of course, the business is evolving so quickly that it's outdated now to think about having spending a month and month writing specification and then move to development for 1 or 2 years and then deliver applications that are already outdated because the business has evolved. So you need to change the paradigm there. And what is good in the agile methodology is that you have the notion of sprints. It's a period of 4 to 6 weeks that you will have to deliver something at the end. So you're going to get a communication, very close communication to the with the end user. And that's the key factor of success. Does that correspond to what you expected? Yes or not? So it's it's a methodology that is really strict. And another key argument is the stand-up meetings. So we are talking about a small set of, let's say, 6 to 10 developers only, and they are sharing every Monday morning. They have a stand-up meeting, and they have to share their current problems of the week. So this is to avoid the fact that the developer may spend days and days trying to fix a bug, while simply by sharing the information with his colleagues, he can find the solution by himself very much more quickly. So really, agile methodology is a very good methodology to really have more productivity in the development side of things and more transparency and more accuracy with the user requirements. Adopt new programming standards. Is that costly? No, it's not. It's all about, saying that for any new components you're going to develop in your IBMI, then you have to go through SQL to access the data, and you have to write procedures instead of writing a big program. RPG freeform. RPG freeform is really special there because we are talking about attracting young developers. And I can tell you that it works pretty well on the fact that, RPG has ever been considered as something like a little bit exotic in the field. And especially because of the fact that the RPG language runs only in the IBMI platform now. So contrary, if you compare to COBOL runs on each and every platform, and it sticks to the ANSI 74 norm. So it means that since 1974, this language has not evolved. So it's what was the menace for the IBM platform is becoming a very strong opportunity because IBM has been able to make strong evolvements in that language. And we arrived to a point that the RPG looks like .NET and Java. So, of course, in fact, if you have RPG freeform programs, I can tell you that any kind of young developer can read that code. So it means if they can read it, they can maintain it. So I won't spend too much time on RDI because I guess you have been convinced with the adoption of this environment. Yes. Does any of you is not using yet this development environment? Raise your hand. It's an evidence that in terms of productivity gains and in terms of also, let's not forget, think about any time about the new generation. Who's going to maintain your existing application? So it could be a little bit sadistic to have young developers using that tool, honestly. This one, he has already his own habits, control space, it's Eclipse based, so it's every developers that are getting out from school already know that environment. RDI is just a plug into the Eclipse core. So that's why it's a very strong standard, and it's not only for RPG and COBOL, of course, it's for Java. It's anytime the same look and feel. Even then, PHP has entered in is Eclipse-based. So we are moving into real strong standards there. And you remember what I said. How do you manage diversity? It's by sharing. So the developers can share the same development environment. So you know all the capabilities, just like application diagrams, and the debugger is wonderful. And you have this capability also, which is the program outline. You click on one field, then you get access to the related source line, and so on and so forth. And of course, the product does contain the equivalent of SDA built in. And if you want to test or execute your program without getting out of this development environment, you need to know that we provide a freeware directly downloadable from our website that is no more nor less than a 50-50 emulator that builds into the RDI environment. So we are talking about modernization of applications. So how to increase your change rate, because you have an ongoing flow of user requests. So you have a certain workload already. So how to conduct in parallel this project? Of course, you need to increase your productivity, and you need to have in place a good software configuration management and release management. Why that? It's because, you know, we are talking about having a high level of automation in your change process. Is that normal if the developer is taking care of, as soon as you add a new field in a table, to save the data, retrieve the data, compile the logical file, and so on and so forth? No. This is the type of stuff that can be fully automated. So let's do the automation once in a while, and then you're going to be quiet, and the developer can concentrate on his modifications. So putting in place SCM and release management processes are quite important to absorb this big amount of changes. So what we propose here is to have an intermediate integration environment where you can receive all the different developments coming from different teams, coming from different areas, and so on. And with the arcade repository content, we're going to check the content of your changes. So a typical example is when you change a file, the system is checking the related programs. And you know what? In fact, we can also automate the compilation of those programs. And the product is going very far in that area because, you know, we've been talking about adopting ILE and adopting SQL. So if you compare to the previous model with physical file, logical file, and OPM programs, it has generated some additional pains because typically for the if you have a relational database, you have constraints between your tables, and it's not that easy to take a file, make a change, and then to put things into production. Does not work anymore like that. You have to deal with all the different constraints. You have to remove the constraints. You have to remove the triggers, make the change, and then remanage the triggers and constraints. Same for ILE. ILE means that you have now dependencies between programs. Of course, did not exist previously. If you have a procedure from one program that is called by another one, and vice versa, then during the compilation phase, you have to have a proper ordering of your programs. This is also done automatically by the tool. So this to be said that, in fact, you can gain a lot of productivity by simply taking attention in what the developer is doing on his daily work and to remove all what is can be automated. So once we have checked the integrity of your changes, then we can automate the transfer to test and transfer to production. And we are talking here about deploying components into several types of servers. So the typical customer is the one that has a graphical user interface developed in Java. using potentially WebSphere application server on top of a legacy application. So as soon as you make a change in your legacy application, you have to make some you have to make some changes in the Java side of things. So here we guarantee the fact that we put everything within the same group of changes, and we're going to push them into production using one single process, and we can automate the stopping of the application server, pushing the components, restarting, and so on and so forth. It's all about having 100% automation of this critical phase here. So the solution we've built with Rational is composed of course, RDI as the standard development environment, RTC for managing the collaborative development and managing also the source code. And while we are completing this two set of tools with the application audit and impact analysis on top, and with the automated build and deployment down the line. And you can see here there is a new modules that have just been added. I need to give you some few explanations there. The first pack we have developed with Rational, people were enforced to put their sources into a VRTC server. It appears that it's not 100% of the customer base that is ready for that. So if you want to keep your sources in VIBMI, then you would have to use the ARCAD skipper module to manage the source code in VI, while the rest of the sources will be managed into the RTC server. So audit is, as I said, in fact, used once just to check the content of your applications, and will provide you with different lists. And this list will be reused in order to make a cleanup. So you can make a mass compile, mass archive, and so on and so forth. The goal here is to reduce the volume of code. I can tell you that the customers that have conducted such type of project have divided by 2 the volume. So you can imagine the number of obsolete components that are running in your applications. And then RTC is integrated source code management. So as I said, in fact, either you store your sources into the RTC server, and this is where you have very nice capabilities for the source compare and merge. It's very efficient in that environment. While if you have a case tool, you wouldn't have no choice than using the skipper module instead, because it's the skipper module that is ensuring the compatibility with case tools and case tools, and JDE, for example, is there. I don't know if there are some JDE customers in the area. JDE typically is very famous worldwide, and is managing some particular components. So we are capable of managing these type of components. And if you want to keep your 50-50 development tools, again, you have no other choice than using the skipper module, because skipper does integrate with the ARCAD and Rational technology through the notion of work item. And so directly from the 50-50, you can access the RTC work items, which are, of course, in a separate server. So let's talk about Observer, that is in the application analysis area. Again, here, if you think about, you have some concerns about some of your developers that are near getting retired, and you say, well, it may be time for me to think about letting them build the technical documentation. That's not the right approach. You have to first hire young developers, because the young developers will be highly motivated in using such type of tool. This is for their own need, not the need of the old ones. So you give them this tool, and they will start by building a technical documentation. And certainly one of the very first tasks that need to be done is in that area. reconstituting and redocumenting the data model. That's quite important. Having the knowledge of your data architecture is a key element in the evolution of your applications. So what we do here is we discover the links, because you remember we are talking about physical file and logical files, which are no more nor less than flat files. There is no relation between your physical files. So how do we get the relation between your physical files? Simply by, well, simply, it's not that simple behind the scene. Getting into your programs. It's within your programs that we can find this information. And as a result, you can see here, you can build a diagram with the arrow shows what are the fields that are making the connection between the two files. And we go even down to the cardinality there. So we are in the application, in the database discovery side of things. So if you want to go further, moving to a data modeling tool, in fact, the output of this module is in the form of DDL. So then DDL is the standard. You can upload that in any kind of data modeling tool you wish. So ARCAD Observer does contain both sides. In fact, this is the part that is used on a daily basis by the developer for impact analysis purpose. It can start typically by a database field. And the database field, then you go to the programs, and if you click on one program, you're going to get access to the source line level. So these are the source lines that are modifying that field in that program. So this is where you have the ability to isolate your business rules. Another example here is the calling chain. So you have the list of all the calls between your programs. And if you want to build a technical documentation, it's no more nor less than the assembly of this set of information and a set of diagrams that are presented in the form of HTML pages. So if you want to add some more functional information, then you can just enter some text directly within the product, and as a result, you're going to get very easy to share technical documentation. So Transformer RPG, I won't get back anymore on that. I guess you are aware of the fact that this is the key element for the young developer to read your code. No more, no less than that. It's just like a translator in some way. Because they can read that code. They can't read this one. Definitely not. And do you want to have some proof that it works? I have the case of... we have a customer in Sweden. He's really well on. He's managing the copyrights of in the music business. And this company is growing well. They moved from 8 developers to 22 in only 1 year and a half. And you know what? In fact, their database is DB2.4i because they are managing a huge volume of data. It's a full relational database. They do have constraints and triggers, of course, but also stored procedures written in RPGLE. And the front end in their case is PHP. But there is a plethora of choice there. So we have customers that are running Java, PHP as well, and even .NET. We have a good bunch of .NET customers. And so you can imagine that having on board 22 minus 8 new developers means that it's only young developers. And I asked the development manager, how did you train them? Well, we even didn't train them. We have a set of mentors there that showed them how to develop in RPG3 on the fly, like that. And you know what these young guys are saying? Well, RPG3 is even simpler than Java, for sure. In fact, in terms of structure, it's for sure simpler than Java. So that's why it's so important. We are living a so important moment because now the RPG is 100% free. So there is absolutely not anymore barrier for the young developer to be able to read and maintain this MPG code. Builder is here to fully automate the compilation phase, so it handles every particularities of compilation. We have a pre-compiler that allows you to run commands before and after the compilation phase. We do provide all the management of, as I said, SQL components, ILE components. We preserve the right ownership and attributes of each and every object created. So this is where we are adding a lot of value behind RTC that we are not covering a lot of this stuff that we are covering. And then deliver. This is certainly the most critical phase in the change area. And I need to precise the fact that in our customer base, we don't have only companies that have internal developments, but also some that are only users of software packages of the market. Why? Well, it's that simple. In fact, they do have to manage a change process. In that case, of course, they are not doing the development, but they are receiving new releases from the vendor, and they need to put in place a strong change process in order to test the evolutions and run this final phase, that is the transfer to production. So you can see as a result, you have one central console that allows you to see all the different production machines you may have. If you are an ISV, we are talking about customers there. And you have the level of release of every platform. And you just need to run the transfer of one particular release. And we manage PTF, cumulatives, and even the sending of an entire application into your production machines. 100% automation, that's the goal. And we ensure the security with this very important feature that is the rollback. Because anytime we are replacing something in a target environment, we are making a safe copy. So the user can decide to get back to the previous release of your application in case of a problem. This is an emergency action. It means that, of course, it's not after several days that you can use that option. It's only for the fact that whenever you have a failure during your transfer to production, you don't have time to manage this right now, then you get back to the previous release, and you will have more time later to analyze the problem. Thinking about that, this means that the transfer to production, you can run it nightly, so you give way much more availability of your applications to the end user. You are not obliged to block an end user because you have to implement changes in your applications. That's not normal. And let's get back to RTC for the collaboration side of things. The value of this tool in that area is the fact that people can talk the one to each other. They can share the same documents, and it's very important to have a strong coordination between your development teams. RTC has also a very strong advantage in the fact that it's the natural support to agile methodologies. So this is a classical view of an agile methodology when you have the notion of a little post-it on your wall. So this is the virtual wall with post-its. So then, how to mitigate risk? Because all the people are saying, well, we have applications that are really business critical, and we don't want to touch them because it may be too risky for our business. That's sure. That's an evidence that you need to mitigate risk. How can you mitigate risk? Simply by thinking about, again, moving to a more automated way of testing your applications. And certainly Verifier is the good tool for that. The Verifier allows you to make a firewall between development and test and production. From time to time, in fact, you're going to build scenarios. So instead of running your test on the fly like that, you're going to capitalize your test because the tests are done within the product and the product is in recording all the keystrokes, all the data that are manipulated, and this is what does constitute a scenario. So the next time, in fact, you just have to press the button in order to make your tests. And as a result, you're going to get comparison, some of user interface, database, and spool file generated. It's very efficient for batch processes, typically. And you're going to get a green or red. Red means that you have difference. So it's up to you to say, well, I changed my business rules, so then I know that this new value is the proper value. So then this new execution will become the new reference for the next comparison. So again, here you can say, well, building a library of thousands of scenarios will take a big amount of time. That's not the right approach. You need quite few scenarios to be built on the critical path of your application. Order entry, it's critical. You cannot afford any bug there because it's your business that will be blocked there. So with a small set of scenarios, you may have a good result in terms of regression testing. And extract is for a different purpose. As I said, it's for feeding your test databases by constituting a subset of your production environment. And if you have some confidentiality requirements, then you can run the anonymizer that will replace Paul by Jack anytime in order to avoid to hide personal data. So that's a good bunch of technology. And how to sell that technology? Because we are talking about tools that are specifically designed for your internal IT. So it may be difficult to go to the general management and explain the purpose of this type of tool. You know, it's that's the way it is. And a good argument is this one. So typically, again, here we are getting back to RTC because it's RTC that is providing this type of nice dashboard. If you consider that most of the time every project are delayed and you are even not able to provide with good reasons for that, at least the tool will provide that for you. It gives a lot of transparency to the upper management. So they really like that portion, and it's a key element in the adoption of RTC. And I've finished. Do you have any questions? So you may think about the price, because it's an issue for most everybody. So how much would you pay for the conversion into RPG-free? The answer is the public price is €2. So we are here for the converter. You can again download it as a standalone product directly from our website. You have 10 conversions for free. So just allows you to see the result of the conversion, and then you have to buy a set of 500 conversion. So it's very flexible model that allows you to move forward in this adoption of RPG-free. By the end of the year, I can announce you that we also provide some e-learning material. So you will be able to get access to some training course online if you have some people to be trained in the RPG-free. RTC, the price of RTC in the development area, in the distributed area, you need to know that from 1 to 10, it's free. You just have to go to Developer Works, you download the product, and from 1 to 10 developers, it's free of charge. So there is a good bunch of technology here that can help you in moving in the right direction. It's very important for you too. Now it's your turn. It's not the turn. Don't count on IBM to make the success of that platform. It's every users that have that responsibility now. So I guess now you are starving, right? It's time to go to lunch. Thank you for your attention.